This is Mr. Paul Tsikuris. If you know anything about restoring British sports cars, you'll probably have heard of Paul Tsikuris. He's been doing this for over 40 years, and he's also responsible for restoring this, the Jaguar XK150 that I shot a couple days ago. Now, when I was doing a little bit of research on the XK150, I gave him a call, and he not only took time out of his busy day to answer my questions about the car, but he actually invited me over to his shop to take a look around, and this is how it went.
Yeah, this one we call our clean shop.
The clean shop, okay.
There's no welding or grinding done in this particular shop. This is a 63 XKE that I'm just about finished with. We're getting ready now to stick it out in the sun, let the top get some heat built into it, start stretching to put the new top on.
Beautiful car.
Total frame off restoration. It goes to Arkansas when it's finished. We'll finish up the interior. Once we get the top done and lined up with the glass, then we'll put the door panels on.
Wow, that's incredible.
Everything's done the way it's exactly what it's supposed to be. Let me open up the bonnet and the engine. One on both sides. This car got its engine from the 150S.
Right.
Which is behind you.
So this is the Jaguar XK150S, and this is a 19...
See the S on the front, above the door?
Right, yep.
That's the only thing that tells you it's an S.
So this one has the 3.8 liter straight six, and that one would actually later be brought into this car.
Correct.
And so this is what that looks like.
If you look at the engine in this one, they all have 3 carburetors on it. And you can identify the intake manifold on a 3.8 versus a 4.2 later on car.
And it's a different color, correct? Or is it?
Well, they did different colors on the heads to specify the performance level of the engine. Mainly the intake manifolds on the 3.4 and 3.8 cars. Mm-hmm. Each intake manifold is separate with balance pipes connecting them all together.
Okay.
On the 4.2 cars that came out in 65 on up cars, they're all one block of aluminum, one solid piece.
Right.
And they're not interchangeable from one head. The spacing is different.
With a little bit inside there, this thing is absolutely gorgeous. Everything's been polished up. It looks.
And when we do a bonnet, when we're doing the welding on the bonnet, when you lift up, it's one piece. Mm-hmm. But when it's dismantled, it's 14 separate pieces. Each piece is dipped to the dip tank. Any weld repairs, then epoxy primer, painted, and then reassembled so all your pinch points and overlapped areas and hidden box are sealed. Then you come back and paint it one more time.
Okay.
So
now this one, I see it has the aluminum radiator. Was that something that was original in this car?
That is correct for the 3.8 liter cars. They did have alloy radiators in them.
Okay. They
didn't have that configuration. They had like fins on the side, but that's a modern upgraded aluminum one. But it will still won't lose any points in a Concours show because it's the same material that it was at the factory. The brass didn't come into a 4.2 car.
Now this is a customer's car, or is this yours?
Yeah, this is a customer's car. He's in Arkansas.
In
This is actually the second car I did for him. I did a Mark II saloon car for him before.
Now, how many of these cars will you do per year?
Hard to say because the progress on a car determines on the customer's budget.
Right.
Some people have a small budget, some people have a larger budget. This particular car, believe it or not, has been here 11 years.
Wow.
And not that I'd like to have it there that long. He initially had a program where I got one check a year, generally in January, when he got his bonus check from his job. And some years we just let the funds accumulate for what we need to buy parts for.
Right.
We leave the car in storage. But last year I called him up and told him at his rate of his current spending and my impending retirement, it may not get done here.
Yeah.
So he's immediately found a bunch of funds to get it done.
To get it done. Has he driven this car before, or did it come straight to you?
Yet.
Wow.
Nope.
So he's been waiting a long time to get this car, and I think he's going to be happy.
The story I'm told on this particular car, his college buddy roommate,
Look at that paint.
father bought him this car. But he was complaining that he didn't have enough room for all his girlfriends.
Yeah.
And the owner of the car had an Olds Cutlass. In like 65, 67 Olds Cutlass, like worth nothing. Traded him dead even for this car.
Yeah.
Because he could take his girlfriends with him, had
Wow.
a back seat. So he's had it ever since college.
This is gorgeous. This is absolutely beautiful. I think he's going to be really happy whenever he finally gets this thing back.
Let me see if I can check that quick.
Just taking a look. Look at the paintwork on this. Everything here that he does is done the right way. So he does basically a bare metal restoration. It goes all the way down to the bare metal, and he fixes
everything. Every nut,
everything.
Through wiring harnesses, brake lines. It is a brand new car.
Right. Whenever you're done with it, it's gorgeous.
And we do some upgrades in the engine to run on modern unleaded fuels. From
Oh,
what
okay.
It was done before.
So you don't have to run the
harder valve seats, stay-light exhaust valves, and then one of the problems that the Jaguar has, their overhead cam with a bucket and they're adjusted with shims, like a dime, but they're in increments of 1,000 thickness. How do you adjust the valves?
Okay.
There is no screw you turn and lock it down. So if you don't have the valve job done correctly, you're out of the valve adjustment range and you can't adjust the valve. So it has to go to somebody who knows what they're doing.
Right.
But then inside the car, there's a sleeve, and since it's steel, the head's aluminum, to this different expansion rate. So if from time to time those little sleeves will rise up. They don't hit the cam themselves on either side of the cam. And you hear a tapping noise like an old American V8 hydraulic when it goes bad. Tap, 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 then it goes away. What we do is we make a hold down plate that goes down and you drill and tap into the head. And those hold down plates keep those tappets from moving.
Okay. So this one's just about done?
This one's close, yeah.
Very close?
I'm currently doing 8 XKEs.
8 XKEs. Wow.
Most of the others are painters right now.
Beautiful, beautiful looking car. So
the one you're interested in is this one right here. This is the
Yeah.
150S. I did this
This is
car
the 150.
32 years ago. The owner in Valdosta, Georgia. He's retired now, I believe. He's a radiologist. And I did 3 Jags for him. And last year he had surgery and wasn't able to drive his cars for about a year. So all of them kind of deteriorated a little bit. So he's been bringing them down one at a time, rotating the stock, you might say.
Yeah.
I've already redone the coupe and the Roadster, then this one came down. This is the last one. We'll put new tires on because they're all out of date. Batteries, flush all the fluids. In this case, I noticed all the radiator hoses were starting to crack. You know, they've been on for 32 years.
right.
Can you open the door?
A real S. Okay. I'll go ahead and pop this open real quick. There we go. Don't want to bump it on that.
This is a massively heavier car than compared to a 120.
Right. Is that why you think they upgraded it to the 4-wheel disc brakes instead of the drums? Is it out of necessity?
It's hard to say because it's kind of left over some of the racing stuff. They may have done it because there is more weight involved.
Right. So this one is probably one of the, well, this is one of the last traditionally styled cars with the long swooping
Well, it's got a frame
fenders.
on.
Right, so this one has an actual steel body box frame.
I had the photo shoot to show you what the frame looks like when the body's not on it.
Beautiful looking car, but this one has the narrow engine bay on it, whereas
To me,
the
the
other one's
ultimate
a
XK
little bit different.
is a 120 fixed head with 150 mechanicals in
And
it.
I've heard that from a lot of other people too, yeah. Everybody loves the 120s.
See, the 140 and the 150, they have rack and pinion steering.
Okay,
The 120 has worm and peg, which means it's a lot sloppier, it's not as direct. Rack and pinion is much more direct.
awesome.
These are the correct lights for a 140 and 150. It's called the J headlight.
Okay, so it has a little J in the middle
Yeah,
of
and it's
it.
got a bulb, a separate bulb inside. They're not a seal beam.
Now, are these original lights, or are these
They're
going
the
to be
new ones that I bought. You can buy new reproduction ones of them.
Okay, and they're all glass and
Yeah,
everything.
they have the J on them.
Very good.
Some of the
looking
120s have a tri-bar, plain, or it says Lucas in them
Okay.
as well.
car. And these bumpers on this car, is this what this came with
140 and
originally?
150 I call checker cab bumpers. I mean,
Okay.
they got massively heavy bumpers on them.
Yeah.
The 120, much slight, nicer, thinner lines, you know. Don't even have overriders on them, you know.
Awesome.
But the 150 has a wider grille, consequently more airflow going through, and they slanted the radiator at an angle to get more radiator in a tighter space, like a GT44. They put them at an angle so you get more air in a shorter distance.
Okay.
So to help the cooling.
So I heard that there's a special way that you're supposed to open this hood.
Yes,
You're
there
not
is.
supposed to just open
It's already
it
been
straight up.
latched, but one of the main keys is once you get it up like this, you have to wiggle it like that, and
Okay.
you notice the back corners come up. If you don't do that,
Then
there's a
you're
good
gonna-
chance it's going to scratch the paint on the back side.
I've heard that, yep. So this is the 3.8 liter.
Yeah. One thing we'll be doing on this engine is taking the cam covers back off. We'll clean them up. We're going to repolish the cam covers, the intake, the carburetor dampers, clean all that up when we're doing the servicing on it. You see how the radiator's in an angle?
Right.
If it was straight up and down, it'd be too tall. You'd have to go with a shorter core.
Mm-hmm.
Consequently, you can go back and get a bigger core.
I've heard that these get very hot, these engines.
Well, there's no room.
Yeah,
you know?
there's no room because, like I said, it was the traditional
Right.
where you have the fenders that
A
come
lot
all
of
the
the
way out
cars
here.
we're actually putting external cooling fans, electric ones on the outside
Right, yeah.
that are manually controlled, the toggle switch, not thermostatically controlled.
So you've had to flip a
It's
switch.
harder to get rid of heat once it's already hot, but if you turn the speed on as soon as you got below 30 miles an hour, you're cooling it already.
Yeah.
And when you're stopping refueling, heat percolates, leave the fan running, the temperature gauge is in the head, it'll show you hot when you turn the key on. But as soon as it starts, it goes right back to cool again.
Okay. That's a very good looking car. So you did the 1959 XK150 that we're going to be looking at.
Mm-hmm.
How long did it take to do that restoration?
I think we worked on the car at least 2 years.
2 years.
You know,
It's been to the Blue Ridge Parkway?
not on a trailer, it's been driven there.
Awesome.
I've driven his in Colorado. In fact, that's a picture on me on the road called Deal's Gap, or the Dragon's Tail. 318 turns in 11 miles.
Wow.
It is the mecca for sport bike riders and sports car.
No, I've heard of it. I haven't been there before. I have a couple of friends that go there, and they're planning on going there this year, so I'm hoping that I might be able to join them.
Yeah.
But
this is a factory hard. This is a 2-seater, which is quite rare. They made one 2-seater to every 10 4-seater in the same year.
Yeah.
So the 2-seat Roadster is quite a. This is a Roadster. I mean, it's got sliding windows.
Yeah, that's so cool.
A convertible has roll-up windows. That's the difference between the terminology. Should be is Roadsters don't have roll-up windows. And the factory rally cars all had this vent right here.
Okay.
This lets the air and heat from inside the car escape. And I've got a fresh air duct on my wife's feet. So in the rain with the side curtains on, you crack it just a 1/4 inch. We get nice air in the car, goes out the back without fogging up the glass.
Wow. It's a beautiful car. I love that color.
Sunday, I put about 105 miles on it Sunday.
That's you driving that right there.
And this one here is a 1953 Nash Healey. And this is one of 4 that had a V8 engine in it. All the others were 6-cylinders.
Really?
And just to show you a quick shot, Nash Healey #1 is this one. I restored this car 7-8 years ago. It's the very first one. It was Donald Healey's personal car. This is the car here out in the yard. The entire body is out, and this is the gas pedals are done the way originally cars of the 50s. Race car, the gas pedals in the middle, not to the right. The entire body on this #1 car is all aluminum, and it doesn't bolt on, screw on, nail on. It crimps on like a door skin.
Okay.
So I had to anneal the aluminum to soften it, uncrimp this. I made a tool to uncrimp it, to save it and take it off, repair it, and put it back on the chassis. We had very, very little of anything to go by. There is no parts catalog to call up and order parts for a Nash.
I assume that
you have to make or fabricate something else to make it work.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's on the way down. It's getting ready to go to the sandblaster once we get to finish of cleaning up. That's his engine right there.
It's looking like it has quite a bit of work that needs to be done.
Already. So what we did, a couple of trial errors to see what's underneath of it. And luckily it's not much, so it'll come off, because I really don't want to blast the outside skin. Blasting creates too much heat, warpage, just rather do it by hand. But that's his engine. We've cleaned the one valve cover off and had some paint matched up so we can paint the engine the correct color when we're all done. That is the wrong carburetor on it. That's a Holly. They didn't have Holly carburetors in '53.
Yeah. It's a little bit newer technology.
2 Jaguar blocks here, waiting to go to the machine shop. This one here is an XK120. This one here is an XKE 4.2 liter, and this is 3.4. And it tells you on the side of the block.
Is there any other way that you can tell besides is it just the size of the pistons? Or
well,
the diameter
there's
of the pistons?
some different. If you look at the casting marks here, this is cast different than this one.
Right.
The casting in here is different. And we have another E-type engine right there. One of the doing this.
These things are big.
That's a 3.8 liter.
The straight sixes are huge.
Yeah, that's a 3.8 liter. It's all cammed up and polished and ready to go.
Wow.
This was in a car that was caught on fire. And the owner replaced it the following weekend at Mealy, Iowa with another car. So we're doing, there's a company in England called Eagle. And they modernize it with big flares.
I've heard of Eagle.
We're building an Eagle, quote, replica right now. It's at the painter. I'm
cool.
hoping to get it back next week.
I'm going to have to check that out whenever you
we put
get that
these
back.
humongous flares on. I had Dayton make some custom 10-inch rims. Normally they're 5-inch rims.
Yeah.
We got tires this huge going on the back of it.
Well, the Eagles are pretty heavily modified as far as the E-types go.
This one's tremendous. In fact, the whole back wall on that E-type, that got all boxed in. We changed the windshield to a Series 3 V12 windshield, much more raked angle. What it does, it goes farther forward. So instead of being close to the cowl with 3 wiper holes, we have to go all the way in with only 2 wiper holes.
Okay.
So it'll be free, and the glass, we cut it down, it goes down at an angle and curved. There is no top going to be on this car.
Oh, wow. Yeah, no, with the Eagles, I believe they take all that stuff off. It's basically just a Roadster.
Right.
And they lower the
He's basically patterned a lot after the Eagle car.
Right.
Only difference, the Eagle car, they funded somebody in Australia to make an aluminum 4-liter block.
Right.
So they're getting £1 million for their car, you know. So we're not going quite that far.
Right.
We got a set of headers on it. That was the engine that was in the car when it was on fire, but the car engine was fine.
Okay.
So we took the head off and put all new gaskets everywhere and sealed everything up, polished everything. Okay. So it'll be fine. We got another building to go to real quick.
That'll take us back to the storage building now.
Porsche's not mine, that's custom.
I'm seeing some pretty cool stuff back here. So we have the 356 Is this considered a convertible or a drop head?
This you got the Speedster and the Roadster. This is the Roadster.
Roadster.
Then you got the Cabriolet and then the Coupe. I built the front end a couple years ago. I did some brake work for him, just little stuff. He called me up. His nephew was driving the car and all of a sudden started making a hellacious noise in the engine, and it's a terrible sounding engine. I just moved it off the lift. Nothing broke through, but it sounds like a broken rod or a broken piston. It sounds really bad, and it's deep thud, not a tinny sound. Oof. So as soon as I get done with the lift, I'm gonna pull out the engine out of it and find out what's wrong. This is another E-Type that I'm doing in Regency Red. His engine is one of the ones you just saw over there waiting to go to the machine shop.
Okay. It's almost like a purple or a plum color.
It's called Regency Red. It's a wine maroon color. It's the same color that I had in my car.
Right.
They'll have a biscuit interior. This is the 120.
Okay.
120 Roadster. It's a Roadster.
120 Roadster. That's. Yeah.
You see how the bumpers are much smaller?
Oh, yeah, they don't go all the way around.
Right.
They don't wrap around
massively
like
heavy
150.
checker cab stuff. You know?
Yeah.
Just getting rid of the bumpers alone take off 500 pounds, I would think.
A little bit lighter weight car, so this is one of the ones that people say is a little bit more fun to drive, a little bit quicker.
Steering's not as direct. It doesn't have the rack and pinion. It's got worm and peg steering.
Okay.
This job came in as a minor oil leak and put a new set of tires on it for him. Well, he didn't have a minor oil leak. He had a major oil leak. Part of it was the oil pressure head assembly where the oil filter's at, and that's simple to fix. We fixed that, but then we noticed this blowing out oil out the front and out the back crank. We did what's called a cylinder leak down test. Okay. Normally you want somewhere between 8, 10, maybe 12% leak down is acceptable. Had 58% leak down on all the cylinders. Ooh. So consequently, I could put seals in it all day long and they're just going to blow it out. Yeah. Because that much pressure in the crankcases. So we're turned into an engine rebuild. You know, the Mini Cooper S came in about a year ago. Not a year
I was
ago.
just about to ask you about that.
Just a few months ago, actually. But
awesome.
it's got a hellacious oil leak just sitting on there. But it's got the hydrostatic suspension in it, and the tires were flat. And it was on his trailer for like 8 years in his garage. So, but it is a real Cooper S. It's got disc brakes.
That's so cool.
Disc brake, but also has twin gas tanks. And the Cooper S has had all the hot stuff back in the day with the nitrided cranks and forged rocker arms. Had all the hot go-fast stuff.
Yeah, the Mini Coopers are awesome little cars.
It's really rusty, so I have talked him into buying a new body shell.
Oh, really? Yeah, yeah, I can see now that
but we're going to save before you get that oil up front.
Okay, yeah, I see.
It's got a major... We put it on this platform because the car was unrollable before, but it's a real Cooper S.
That's cool.
And I'm just waiting on him to bring me the new body shell, and we'll take it all apart. I have 3 in France and 1 in Germany. In the U.S., I finished one about a year and a half ago that went to Portland, Oregon. The first one I did was Traverse City, Michigan. Okay. A lot of the cars at Atlanta I've done. So really, just about everywhere. I got one in New Mexico. My business went international when I started racing. You know, it's always been word of mouth.
So this is the current shop. This is what he's working on right now.
My son goes to get his daughter from school.
Oh, okay. So this is what's being worked on at the moment, as far as you know.
This one's almost done for a certain level, where it's ready to go back to the aluminum welder and to the sandblaster.
Got a little bit more aluminum work to do on this. He was showing me this earlier. He has a little bit of aluminum welding that needs to be done on this car. And then he has an E-Type right here that's going to be getting some paint work done. Some body work done rather. And this one was actually wrapped before. It's going to be wrapped again. But before he does that, they're going to go ahead and straighten out the body a little bit, and then.
Yeah. The owner wanted this all wiggly and wavy. He wanted this smoothed out, so there'll be some filler in through here to smooth all these waves and out spot weld.
I gotcha. Not wanting to paint it, but just wanting to wrap it so he can drive it.
Not a car I'd like to do. But, the customer's car and his money. So one of the things I refuse to do is rebuild brakes with a wheel cylinder hone and put a kit in it. Yeah. I refuse. We'll put new brakes on, but we're not going to put rebuilt brakes on. Yeah. That's somebody else's life, your life, body work, everything.
So you do basically all the body work. He does the engine work. I mean, he
drove it in. Yeah. The car runs great. It's got a 5-speed transmission in it.
So is it it's a pretty common thing to swap out the transmissions in these cars? Is that
more correct? So now as even though when the speed limits were back in In the 70s, when the speed limit was 55 miles an hour, nobody cared about it because you're not supposed to be going that fast anyway.
Yeah.
Now, the speed limit says 70, but most people do 90 to 100. But you don't want to blow up your antique engine going that fast.
Exactly. Yeah. You don't want to
and
push
these
it too
modern
hard.
cars are designed to go fast with low RPMs for better gas mileage. So if you're driving an XKE and you know you got a car that's supposed to be a 150 mile an hour car, and the Toyotas are blowing by you, there's something wrong with that picture. Okay.
Yeah.
So when I did my car again the second time, I put a 5-speed in it. So like I said before, at 80 miles an hour, it's only tacking 2,700 RPM.
I mean, just some beautiful cars that he's got over here. I mean, he was showing me his Porsche. He has a 82 911 SE, which is one of my favorite cars. I mean, he's got a 356 B, you said?
It's a B coupe.
356 B
it's called
coupe.
a T6.
Yeah, so
T6.
he basically just does it all. And I just wanted to say thank you so much for showing us around your shop today. And guys, if you're looking for somebody that does this kind of work, I mean, this is your guy right here. I mean, one of the best in the world as far as I've heard. So thank you again for showing us around your shop. It's been a pleasure. Awesome. Thank you so much.